have to hate that person so that we can live our fullest lives. Now, what does that mean? Now, think about it, guys. Who has heard of the expression hurt people, right? When someone hurts us, what is our natural reaction? If someone hurts us, our reaction is to hurt them back, right? Payback, right? And even if we don't take revenge, we want to see that person hurt the same way we are. We want to see them feel the same pain that we're feeling. It speaks to a misguided sense of justice within us, right? If someone hurts me, it's only fair that they feel that same pain. It's only fair that they feel that same hurt. And if I can't give it to them, I hope somebody else does. Put a 1 in the comment section if this has been you. Like, you haven't taken revenge against someone, but you think to yourself, oh, I hope somebody gets them. Oh, I hope somebody gets you the way that you got me. Oh, I hope somebody makes you feel the pain that I felt. I hope someone hurts you. That it speaks to that misguided sense of justice within us. We have this misguided sense that everything has to be fair. The problem is that fairness, that longing for justice will come at the expense of our own happiness and our own well-being. Let's go back to what we said about hurt people hurt people. Now, we all know that when we're in pain, whether it be sadness, whether it be anger, whether it be any kind of major pain that we feel, our reaction is to take that out on the people in our lives. And because the person that hurt us is not usually active in our lives, we end up either directly or indirectly taking that out on the people that are closest to us in our life. That could be our coworkers, that could be our friends, that could be our family, that could be our girlfriends, that could be our boyfriends, whoever. We will end up taking that hurt on the people in our lives. So if we hold on to that hurt, the people that we are going to hurt are ourselves. Now think about this for a second. When we're holding on to that hate, right? Let's say we have that hatred for that person who hurt us. Do you think that that person out there in the universe somewhere is sensing our pain? Do you think that person out there is going, oh my God, he hates me? What's up, Ben? That person is out there living their lives. They ain't thinking about you. They ain't thinking about how they hurt you. If they did, they probably wouldn't have hurt you in the first place. That person is off living their lives. The person who's being plagued, the person who's being affected by this pain on a day-to-day basis is ourselves. Now, the best revenge that we can take against somebody who hurts us is to show them that what they did has no effect on how we are going to live our life. What you did, the pain you caused me, is going to have no bearing on how I make decisions today. The pain that you inflicted on me is going to have no effect on the relationships that I have in my life. It's not going to affect my job. It's not going to affect my marriage. It's not going to affect my family. It's not going to affect my friendships. I am not going to be burdened by this toxicity, this weight that you have placed upon my shoulder. I'm taking my power back. I'm taking my power back, and your pain is not going to run my life anymore. Because when we fail to forgive, the problem is it's not just us that we're giving that person power over. That person who hurt us, when we fail to forgive, we are not only giving them power over us, we're giving them power over the people in our lives that we are indirectly or directly subsidizing that pain on. Because it will come out. When you walk around with bitterness, when you walk around with hatred, when you walk around with resentment, that pain will come out. And it's probably going to come out on the people in your life. So don't let this person who hurts you have power over you, and certainly do not let them have power over the people in your life who you're closest to. Failing to forgive is like drinking poison and hoping that the person who hurts us dies. Unforgiveness is like drinking poison and hoping that the other person dies. Now, we are not saying that we're forgetting what they did. We're not saying that what they did has no consequences. We can hold other people responsible. We can set appropriate boundaries for our lives. We can put ourselves in a situation that we are going to either minimize or remove that person's access to hurt us anymore. But that does not mean we have to do so with resentment in our heart and hatred on our mind and all that pain that we have to carry over day after day after day. Now listen, this is not something that I'm expecting you to just snap your fingers and release all of this pain and accept forgiveness in your life. Forgiveness is very often a struggle. Forgiveness is very often a journey. Some people are able to forgive easier than others. Some people are able to forgive others easily, but they have a hard time forgiving themselves. Some people forgive themselves very easily, but they have a hard time forgiving others. We're all different. We all have different personalities. We all have different values. We all have different character. But the point is that when we accept that we want to live in freedom, when we accept that we want our power back, we can release that right that we have to hate that person. We can release that right that we have to take revenge against that person. And when we do, we are releasing ourselves from the chains of victimhood. That's what forgiveness is. Now, what forgiveness isn't is releasing somebody from the consequences of what they did. Thank you for the favorites. Now, we just talked about the definition of forgiveness in a static way. What does that look like in a dynamic way? What does that look like when it's played out in different people's lives? Forgiveness can have very different implications depending on who hurt us. Forgiveness can have very different implications depending on what they did. We're going to forgive someone very differently. Oh, dear God. We're going to forgive someone very differently who maybe makes a snide remark to us at work. We're going to forgive that person differently than someone who assaults us or cheats on us in a relationship. That forgiveness is going to look different, and there are going to be different consequences. Because remember, just because we're releasing that right to hate and take revenge doesn't mean that we're not holding that person responsible. Now, it's going to be up to you to decide what the consequences of those are. Everybody has got to have their own healthy boundaries. Everybody, dear God, has got to have their own knowledge of the self-love required to maintain forgiveness while removing the access to be hurt again. So if someone cheats on you in a relationship, it's really hot in here today, guys. I don't know if it's the jacket that I'm wearing or what, but I'm like hot in here. So I don't know if you guys can see me sweating, but I am just like, okay. Maybe I got the vapors. That's for sure, John. Where was I? What was I saying? Somebody help me out here. I take off the jacket. I never take off the jacket, Leah. I never take off the jacket. Okay. Cheat. Yes, right. Thank you. For example, someone cheats on you in a relationship. It's going to be up to you whether you want to forgive that person and not only forgive them, but allow them to stay in a relationship with you, or whether you want to forgive that person, but say, hey, you know what? I forgive you. I wish you well, but I don't want you in my life anymore. Just because you forgive someone doesn't mean you can't administer consequences, right? So someone cheats on you, you may want to remove that person from your life. Just because I want to see you eat doesn't mean I want you at my dinner table. And just because I want you at my dinner, just because I don't want you at my dinner table doesn't mean I don't want you to eat. Now, some people may ask, well, how do I know if what I'm doing is the proper like response to forgiveness or if I'm taking revenge? When you react to something or when you respond to a pain, ask yourself this question: is what I'm doing what's best for me or what's worst for them? If my focus is on doing what's best for me, then I am going to respond in a healthy way. But if my focus is on how to hurt that other person, then what I'm doing is seeking revenge, and that will ultimately end up making things worse. So am I doing what's best for me, or am I doing what's worse for them? Ask yourself that question, and you will be able to determine if you are seeking revenge or if you're actually trying to administer healthy boundaries and consequences. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Forgiveness Culture. Every single week we talk about the hope and the peace that can be found in forgiveness. We just talked about the static and dynamic definitions of forgiveness. Now let's talk very briefly on how to forgive with a broken heart. Now, I think all of us have had our heart broken at one time or another. This can be a very, very difficult topic, and it can be very, very touchy, you know, and it can be very, very nuanced, right? Depending on the details of the pain. It could be very detailed if you have kids with this person who hurt us or not. Thank you, Marty. It can be very difficult if this person lives near you still, or if this person has access to your life still. But the first thing we need to do in order to forgive, the very first step is that we have to heal. We have to heal. If and when possible, we have to remove those things from our life that remind ourselves of that person and how they hurt us. Maybe they could be photos of us of y'all together. Maybe it could be gifts that they gave you. I don't know. It's going to be specific to each individual person, but you want to remove those things that are going to remind you of the pain. Now, this is a difficult thing to do if this person, like if you have kids with this person, or if this person has access to your life. But when at all possible, remove those things that are going to remind you of that pain. The second thing, guys, and this is such a crucial aspect of any way, what if they're high up on your leaderboard? Listen, isn't it amazing? Guys, think about this for a second. I want you guys to all think about this for a second. And I want you all to ask yourselves, does this app need some forgiveness culture? How many of us have either blocked or are no longer talking to people on our top of our leaderboards? Now, if you go around the app and say, hey, in your top 10, how many of those people do you not talk to or you have issues with, or have you blocked? That should tell us a little bit of something. That should tell us a little something about needing a little bit of forgiveness, but that's not the point. All right. This second thing that we need to do when we're healing, so that I got to hurry this up, guys. I'm falling behind there in time. I don't know why I'm just got a little distracted, and I think it's just the heat, guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm just, coming back from playlist, but I'm just kind of hot, and I don't know. My brain's not working. Yeah, I'm preaching. That might be it, JJ. But it's just tonight. I don't know. I'm just like feeling hot. The second thing we got to do is thank you. Make sure and this is important for any time we're working on healing and forgiving, is surround yourself with people who love you. Guys, this is the most healthy thing you can do when you're trying to get in a forgiveness mindset and to get on a forgiveness path, is surround yourself with people who love you. Even if you're more of an introvert, even if you're someone who finds strength in being by yourself, put yourself in a situation where you're reminded that you're valued, reminded that you're loved. Because what happens is when you're in heartbreak and you start thinking of stuff like, man, how could this person not love me? How could this person not want me? How could this person reject me? You need to put yourself around people who do choose you. You need to put yourself around people who do want you. You need to put yourself around people who value you and you can feel worth from. This is probably the most important thing you can do to heal from heartache, to get yourself on a forgiveness path, is you have to be in a forgiveness mindset, and surrounding yourself with people who love you is the best thing. The last thing you can do when you're trying to heal from that guy so you can be in a forgiveness mindset, don't stalk that person. All right, don't go to their social media, cut yourself off, except I mean, unless you have kids and you just have to correspond with this person for kids. Please, please, please don't stalk that person on Instagram. Don't look at their Facebook. Don't look at their stories. Block them if you have to, okay? I'm not saying you got to block them, but like, don't try to catch up on them. Don't ask their friends what they're doing, right? You're just going to continue hurting yourself. Cut yourself off, move on, and put yourself in a position where you can, because in order to forgive, guys, you have to take power over the pain. And when you're heartbroken, that pain has power over you. I don't care how strong you are. I don't care how macho you are. I don't care how emotionless you think you are. When we're heartbroken, that pain has power over you. And forgiveness is all about taking that power over that pain. So the best way you can do that is to put yourself in a position to move on. And then after you've healed from that, you got to remind yourself that this is not an evil person. Maybe they did evil things. Maybe this person hurt you badly. Maybe this person did stuff in a way that you can never understand why. But you have to remove the dehumanization of that person. Because as long as you dehumanize that person, and it's hardest when it's someone that we were close to. Hot here tonight. But as long as you're dehumanizing someone, you are not going to be able to get to a place of forgiveness. If you're just joining us, this is Forgiveness Culture. Every week we talk about the healing powers of forgiveness. And what's going on, Robert? This week, guys, we have I know I need my AC on, but I think it's too hot even for AC. I don't know why. There's something going on in my condo right now that's just making it incredibly hot. Oh, what's up, Idol? Okay. Now, guys, before we get to our very esteemed guest, who we're going to get to in just a minute, Fiva Diva, she's going to tell us her own story. Culture or current events or from the Forgiveness Project book, which is what inspired the show. This week, we've got from Forgiveness Culture, Forgiveness Project, we've got a story shared on their website. And I'm going to read it for you guys. This comes from a story of Rosie. Her name is Rosie Alif. Now, and we're going to share Rosie's story of forgiveness, and then we're going to get to our guest. All right, Rosie Alif, in 2016, her 20-year-old daughter was murdered while backpacking in Australia. She was another backpacker named Tom Jackson was also killed trying to rescue her. Now, what happened was that Aaliyah and Tom were backpacking in Australia, and this guy by the name of Smail Ayad basically shot both of them, and they died. Now, the mother, her name is Rosie. Rosie completely detached herself from reality when this happened. She was a teacher. She couldn't teach anymore. She gained a massive amount of weight. She got very, very sick to the point where her own doctor thought she was going to die. She basically detached herself from reality. She was grieving so much, and she had so much PTSD that she could barely function anymore. And she was doing that because she was sublimating and suppressing all the hatred that she had towards the man who killed her daughter. Now, eventually, she didn't want to know anything about him. She removed herself from any information regarding the case until it was time for the sentencing in the murderer's case, and she decided that her life was got to a point where she had detached herself so much that she needed to confront this man in order to actually process some of this detachment that she'd been dealing with. To make a long story short, she found out that this man had severe mental health issues, and that he was very much out of his, not in the right frame of mind when this happened. He didn't even remember it happening. And he felt profound guilt and shame for what he did, but he didn't even remember doing it because he had so many mental health problems. And he was like this, he tried to actually kill himself after this happened. And he had almost paralyzed himself from doing so. So when Rosie finally confronted the attacker or the murderer, she realized that all of this detachment and all this anger and hatred that she had been sublimating for years, she could have dealt with that a lot sooner. And she could start to process some of that hatred a lot sooner if only she had kind of not suppressed it and kind of dealt with it, and not carried around that resentment on her shoulders. That's why we say, guys, forgiveness is not something that you can just snap your fingers all the time and do, but we want to remove that weight from our shoulders. Rosie held on to that weight for years, and that weight crippled her to the point that she could no longer function. And she realized that in order to live my full life and take my power back, she had to take the initial steps to forgiveness. And that meant dealing with this pain. And she said when she was able to finally confront the attacker, she realized how much easier it was, because this man was not in his right frame of mind when he did this in the first place. Now, I encourage you guys to read Rosie's story. She is, let me set this back up here. Okay. Her story is, there's a lot more to her story than what I just said. I summarized it, kind of for the sake of time, because we do need to get to our guest. But read Rosie. Her name is Rosie Alif, and she's got a very powerful story of how she was able to come out of this severe depression that she was facing, and finally get on a path of forgiveness. So if you're just joining us, this is Forgiveness Culture, guys. Every single week we talk about the hope and peace that can be found in forgiveness. And every week we have a guest on the show who shares their own story of forgiveness. And we hope that by doing that, we can reach someone out there who can hear the stories and say, if this person can forgive, then I can too. This week, our guest is a top badge on the app. She's a friend of the stream, and she's got a very powerful story. And we're very, very honored to have her on the show tonight. Her name is Fiva Diva. So I'm going to go ahead and put her in the box now. So y'all please put your hands together and welcome our guest tonight, Miss Fiva Diva. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to apologize right now. I am not sitting at my regular, streaming wall, but also kind of wanted to have this conversation without, listening ears of my child. So
absolutely, I understand. I think it looks great. I think you look great. First of all, thank you for being on the show. We know it's not always the easiest thing to do, to just open up and be very share private stories, but we do that with the intention that we can reach people out here and that somebody can benefit from our stories. But before we get started, can you tell us a little bit about who you are on the app, what you do here, and when we can find you live?
So I'm Fiva Diva. I've been on the app for about 2 years, top badge for about a year and a half. I do a lot of things. One of the things I'm bringing back is Worship Wednesday. It's just a Wednesday morning of gospel and Christian music, giving everybody a moment to take a break from all of the hustle and bustle that we deal with on the app, and just, connect a little bit. A lot of us connect through the worship and meditate, breathe, pray, whatever it is you need. It's like just a quiet space for all of us that go on a regular basis.
Love that.
I'm a mental health advocate here. I talk about mental health all the time. So I love the idea of forgiveness, because a lot of times it ventures out into that area.
Absolutely.
So many things. I have a featured show, Fine Arts with Fiva, every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern, and we talk about all things art. This coming Sunday, we will be talking about 9/11 and a memoriam to that, and all the art that has been created in memoriam to 9/11, including the construction of the memorial and what went into that.
Can I tell you just really quick? I know this has nothing to do with the show, but we do have until 15 minutes after. When I was one of the very first people who went to the 9/11 memorial when it was right after it was constructed back in 2000, I think it was 2011, 2012, back when they opened up the memorial. And I was walking around because they have all the names of all the victims. And y'all here don't know my last name. I don't ever say it, but when I was there, I don't have a very common last name, but when I was there, I just happened to look at the memorial, and the first name I saw was my first and last name exactly on the memorial, and it my eyes bulged out, and I was like, whoa. So anyways, not just kind of a little side story, but I love that you do that. And thank you so much. I'm a big art lover myself. So I love that you do that. Thank you. By the way, very, very nice. So tell us a little bit about who is involved in your story here tonight.
So I want to talk about forgiving my daughter's father. So obviously it involves myself, my daughter, and her father, but also even my son, who has a different father. So yeah. It's a little
the best place. I always say every week, thank you, by the way, for all the love. The best place to start is at the beginning. So tell us a little bit about how the story starts.
So it's honestly, it starts in third grade. I met my daughter's father in the third grade, and he had a crush on me, and I didn't like boys. Boys had cooties. So, elementary school crushes, fast forward to high school, we date a little bit, but we went to different high schools, so it didn't work out. And then, I have my son by someone else. And then about 2 years later, after a breakup, kind of run into him by accident. We start hanging out. We start sleeping together. And I share the fact that I've dealt with postpartum depression. I'm not on birth control. He's saying because we're not sleeping with other people, there's no need for protection. And I explain, listen, I can still get pregnant. Like, I don't believe in abortion. You get me pregnant, we're having a baby. So he kind of, no, it's fine. And, I'm in my 20s, so I don't really kind of press for I don't press the issue like I should have as an adult,
Right.
So fast forward 6.5 months later, I am pregnant. Just on the phone with a friend, she mentions her cycle, and then I go, wait. So I find out, I call him, I let him know, and he immediately, this is 5 minutes after me knowing, he immediately says, I don't want to be a dad. You got to take care of it. Mm-mm. So I say, okay. And I go to the doctor's office, find out how far along I am. I think it's understood. I'm keeping my baby. So I call him back and I just say, hey, I'm due this date. Yeah, this is what it is. I'm keeping the baby. Well, if you don't keep the baby, we can keep going. But if you keep the baby, we can't.
Wow.
Right. So I chose my baby, obviously, because she's here and many of you have met her on stream. She's amazing. I had a difficult pregnancy, not from the perspective of I felt like my life was in danger until the very end, but I was in two car accidents, rear-ended while I was pregnant with her. Every other week from 22 weeks until she came, we were in the hospital because I was threatening labor, things like that. And then finally, the last 6 weeks, they discovered that I had an irregular heartbeat, which meant I couldn't go into labor, which meant I had to go on bed rest. Meanwhile, my son is only 2 at the time.
Wow.
So, now I'm having to navigate my mother taking my keys because she's afraid for me to drive by myself. Um, Dealing with my son who's still a toddler and still wants to be picked up.
Right.
So having to deal with all of that. I have my daughter. It's single mom, two children. It's a lot, but
And I'm thinking that's what I'm thinking. I'm sitting here thinking you're single mom already. You've got a 2-year-old toddler that which we all know about the terrible twos, and you're pregnant, and then the guy that you're seeing that I'm assuming you had feelings for, there just decides to say, hey, hey, like he puts you in a terrible ultimatum. What's up, good listener? And basically breaks your heart while trying to pressure you into do something that you're again. This is a lot. This is a lot to take in, all while dealing with all these complications.
it wasn't so much that I was against it, but I had been told since I was 16 that I would have difficulty conceiving and having children.
Right.
So, for me, it was just like my son was a miracle baby. And then to be pregnant again, I'm terrified, but I'm also like, okay, they were wrong,
Right.
So, and with my son, like I really wanted him to have a sibling because I grew up with siblings, and I don't know how, but I knew I was having a girl. Like the minute I found out I was pregnant, I was like, this is going to be a girl. I wanted a girl. I got a boy and a girl. I'm so happy with it. In my mind, I'm like, no one wants her here, which also I think made me fight a little bit harder to bond with her and not deal with like fighting against the postpartum and hoping that that doesn't happen again, and staying healthy. And, I nursed her until she was 9 months old. I was very in tune with her more so than with my son because of the depression with my son. So, every year thereafter, something would come up, and
Right.
it would involve him because we did grow up together. We have all these mutual friends.
So how did you feel? Because I'm just trying to imagine what my, like, this person that you've known forever, that you were hoping to have some kind of future with, I'm assuming, and he just leaves you high and dry in a moment where you probably needed them. I mean, what were your emotions towards him at that point?
So honestly, back then I thought that my heart was broken because he didn't want to be a part of our family. But I've come to understand that I was more heartbroken that he didn't want to be a father to her. Because this is kind of strange, but we've had couple of encounters since she was born. I'll tell you all about one in a minute, but fast forward about 9 years, 2019, someone came to me that was a mutual friend of ours with a lot of tea about his current situation. He's gone on, he's gotten married, but he had gotten some woman that was not his wife pregnant. And this woman wanted me and my daughter to meet her and her son and them to have a bond. And I was just like, no, because I don't know you. I don't know the circumstances. She doesn't know her father. So I don't feel like that's a good situation. And finally, I this was a moment where I realized I was at a place where I was not bothered by him. I wasn't heartbroken over the end of the relationship. And maybe because that was never in my mind. I just, in the moment it was working and he was familiar and we were comfortable. I was more upset that he wasn't there for my daughter.
And you know, I think I'm not a parent, but that's something that I hear from parents all the time is that the pain you feel for your child is like multiple
Oh,
over any pain you feel for yourself. So I got to imagine the disappointment or the heartache that you're feeling on your daughter's behalf. I
right,
mean, that's got to make the concept of forgiveness a little more difficult. So,
right.
how did you get to a place where forgiveness was even on your radar?
So one thing you'll hear from any single parent or any parent, it gets busy and you don't have time to wallow in what could have, what should have been, and who should be there and who should be doing what.
You say that, but I know a lot of people who wallow in that. They get angry. They be throwing hands. I be seeing stuff on social media. I see it in these streams. People take plenty of time to wallow. So,
I see it too, but then I step back and I just go,
uh,
he's still not going to do anything. So for me, it was
yeah.
my kids need me every day. This child is going to need me every single day. And if I waste my time trying to force someone that doesn't want to be there, and I also had another scenario where my son's father kind of left us in a moment of I was no longer an option for him because he kind of wanted to have his cake in one place and eat it over here too.
Mhm.
And when I took myself out of the whole, I don't know what he was trying, the harem he was trying to build, I guess, then he no longer wanted to be a part of my son's life. So I did appreciate, I came to appreciate the fact that I knew what it was going to be going in. Like there wasn't this expectation of him being there to hold her or her to help out. It was, I'm doing this by myself. So, over time, a lot of it just kind of dissipates because you're just busy. Like 2 kids under 3 was a lot. I'm trying to feed her and get him in bed and make sure he's not writing on walls. But over time, you just realize like I can't. You hear a lot of people say like I see their father's face in my child, and my daughter looks just like her dad. Like I looked at her eyes when she was born and said, "Oh my gosh, that was the one thing I didn't want her to get."
Now, let me ask you. Okay, I hear that you're saying you don't have time to wallow. You needed to focus on. But was there a part of you that wanted to kind of get him back or like blast him
Yes.
or put it? I mean, so what? Tell me about that because that's what I usually see the most of. So tell me about that side of Feeble.
I always knew that there was going to be this moment where I would get to confront him and curse him out and call him all kinds of names and all of that. And it's really funny because, of course, mutual friends. A friend of mine had a birthday party and he called. He's like, "You coming to my party?" And I'm like, "No, I got stuff to do that day. I'm tired. I don't really want to go." She was 3 by this time. He's like, "I feel like you don't want to come because he's going to be there." And I was like, "Well, I didn't know, that hadn't crossed my mind, but thank you. Now I really don't want to go." He said, "I need you to put your love for me above your hatred for him." Well, I don't hate him. I just think that's going to be really awkward. He's
Yeah.
like, "Well, even if you only come for an hour, I want you to come." So I was like, "Fine, I'm going to come as early as possible. I'm staying for an hour." And I sat in the car for 30 minutes, convincing myself, "You're just going to go in here and you're going to ignore him like he's not there. You're going to go in here." Then at one time, it was like, "You're going to go in here and you're just going to tell him how you feel. And then you're just going to bounce." Like, that's what it's going to be. I immediately walk into the house. He comes out of one side of the kitchen and my friend comes out of the other and hugs me. "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you're here. Thank you for coming. See, I'm so glad you're here. You're going to have a good time." And I'm like, "I know what you're doing. Let me go." So I go in the kitchen to get a drink, and her father, he's like, "What do you want? I'll make it for you." And I just kind of looked at him and I was like, "Nah, I'll make my own drink." And he looks at me. He was like, "Well, I've seen pictures of her. She's gorgeous." And I was like, "Yeah, of course she is. She's absolutely gorgeous." And we had this conversation. He asked about my mom, my siblings, my son. Asked about her. He was like, "Yeah, so and so showed me pictures of her, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "I'm going to ask everyone to stop doing that. You made your choice. And I feel like it's unfair to her for you to do this helicopter thing where you're kind of overseeing her through social media, but also unfair to you that you're bombarded with pictures of a child that you don't want any part of." And he just kind of looked at me, and I said, I will say this though, there will come a time when she has questions, and I can only send her to you to get those.
Now, a lot of parents would take it upon themselves to give those questions, answer those questions in a not so negative light. Now, what was stopping you from trashing him to your daughter and telling him just about all the? I know we hear a lot of that sometimes from parents, trashing the non-present parent.
So he made one poor choice. It was a big poor choice, but he made one poor choice. He didn't want to be a dad, and that's okay. I was fine with being a mom.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be a dad. So, and also, I grew up in a household where my parents split, and my mom had horrible things to say about my dad when she didn't think we were listening, but we were listening. So I never wanted, because the other side of that is, as a child, if your parent is saying such bad things about the other half of you, like, it's hard to make a distinction. So it just wasn't a moment where I felt like I wanted to rip into him. And then I never really, like, even, when my son discovered that same year that my daughter was born that he didn't have a dad, like, I told him that his dad had to go to college to figure out how to be a dad, and he couldn't be a dad until he graduated, kind of thing. And it could take years.
If there's a class like that, I know a lot of parents that need to be going to that class, right?
For me, it was protecting them from feeling like someone didn't want them. And I never wanted my daughter, like, I'm a daddy's girl. So, right. I still look at my dad like I'm 5 years old sometimes. So I never wanted my kids to look at their dads and feel away, or think about their dads and feel away. One bad choice doesn't make him a bad person. Like I said, I'd known him, and I always knew that it was going to happen. There's no, like, my dad would be like, well, why don't you file child support? And I was like, because if I need it, I know where to go get it. We have people question, like, his mom doesn't know about her. And people are like, I know where his mom lives. So, like, you should just go over there and tell her. And I was like, no, I can't. I know what that would feel like for me as a mom, but also, like, that is his mother. I wouldn't want his mom to look at him differently. There came a point where it was more important to me to love my daughter and have my daughter feel like she is the most loved child in the world. That meant more to me than this hatred or anger towards someone that just made a simple choice. He just didn't want to be there.
Hearing the way you talk, it's very obvious that you have gotten to a place of forgiveness. Mm-hmm. And I know that has got to make you feel more empowered than, if you were just kind of stuck in this place of hatred and disdain for him. How has having that power made your life better than if you were in a place where you hadn't gotten there yet?
I think that my children are both teenagers now. I think that my children would be in the same boat I was in my 20s, like, discovering things about who they are and who their parents are, and in shock by that. I want my children to live a life of transparency. I want my kids to understand, there was no big secret. Mommy wasn't married when she got pregnant with you guys. No, I don't wish that for you, but I don't want my kids to grow up and just have resentment towards anyone, because at the end of the day, I kind of think that God has this way of sending you to the path of the person that needs it the most. And, early on, I kind of felt like his redemption will likely come through my daughter. And I want my daughter at the end of the day, I want people to look at my child and see that I did a great job. And I can't do that if my child is angry and bitter and hateful towards her father. And one of the things that I've always just said was that, and I told him this too, I was like, just please pray that I can teach her to be forgiving. So in a moment where you may have to cross her path and need her, she is there for you.
Right.
Like, I don't want them to hate their dad.
So to me, from the way you're talking, it sounds very much that your forgiveness is synonymous with love. And it sounds like love is a very strong value for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I just, I've known you a little bit, but just getting to know you a little bit more through this story, I can tell that you're a loving person and that love is a very strong value and one that you want to pass on to your kids.
Yeah.
How important do you think forgiveness is if we want to live a life that reflects love, and can we live a life that reflects love without forgiveness?
No, because at the end of the day, I think a lot of times when you're unable to forgive others, there's something in you that you haven't forgiven for yourself. Um, this journey to forgiving everyone else around me led to me learning to forgive me. Because it's not, it doesn't feel good to raise children by yourself and know that you've had a hand in being that, like, and made the choice to do it and things like that. So for me, when it comes to wanting to live a life filled with love, love and hate don't exist in the same spaces, in my opinion. It's kind of like light and dark don't exist in the same space. So if I want my children to grow up and be loving towards everyone, I can't then show them hatred, especially for the people that are the reason they're here. Like, even though they're not here financially or involved in my kids' lives, like, I wouldn't have them without these two people.
You know, one of the things I
And
love,
I will always love them too.
yeah, one of the things I love about this show is that I get to, I feel like I learn something from every guest. And what you said just really hit me right there is like, obviously, I don't think any parent want their kid to be a hateful person or to have hatred in their heart or be, have resentment. But oftentimes we will demonstrate those qualities, but then we don't want our kids to have them. And so leading through example, our kids, they learn from us the most. And what you said just really hit me is that we can't walk around with hatred towards, our exes or whoever, and then expect our children to be raised in love. That just really hit me. I feel like that's just a really powerful thing to say and a really powerful revelation. And I mean, I think that just like the way you talk is just it's so pure and inspiring. And I think I want to continue getting to know you more, Fiva, because I mean, I'm just really, really moved by how you handled this whole situation. I think you handled it with a level of grace that few people probably could, and I think it's a very, very beautiful thing. Um,
Well, I think that even that is a choice, right? Like,
right,
listen, I've had the wretched thoughts in my mind.
right,
It happens, but I also have to, like, as their sole biological parent, like, winding up in jail just it's not a good look. It's not cute. So, I didn't have the option to go out and do the things that my mind would allow itself to wander and think about doing. So, what
that
do you,
you would have had, every right to do.
yeah, like, I've, wished him, when I found out he was getting married, I wished him well in that, and even finding out about this child, like, it was just kind of like, why are you coming to me? Like, we're in our corner, we're good, I want no parts of it.
Right.
So what we have here like, I want my kids to know love, and my kids are surrounded by love. And while, yeah, that dad isn't here, my kids have more father figures than even I can handle, because they all have a say. Like, it's amazing to me how 5 different men will call me and tell me my daughter's shorts are too short and I need to buy her bigger clothes, because in their minds, like, no, she can't wear that. Right. Granted, they were basketball shorts, but for them, oh, they're too tight. Oh, no, we don't like those jeans on her. So while she's missing one, she has so much love surrounding her and people that will never let her fall, and just loving and doting on her. It's amazing to see. Like, I see a different dad for her and my own father than I got as a child. And different when grandparents, but very different. Like, I feel my relationship with my dad through her.
And I can almost say with certainty that had you had a different attitude, one that was not loving and one that was spiteful, that you would not probably have those men around. Because why would someone, and that's the thing I think that we don't think about, right? Like when you choose the love that you chose, you're going to be able to have more opportunities for people to be involved with your life that can have that. Who's going to want to be around someone who's miserable and resentful and, like you said, ratchet? You know, I say your words, not mine. But I mean, listen, I've had ratchet thoughts too. But like, who's going to be around ones? Who's going to want to be in a relationship, or who's going to want to be around have a connection with someone like that? So I feel like we could talk forever. But we are kind of reaching the end. There are two questions I ask all my guests. And the first one is, if there was someone out there who may be in a situation maybe similar to yours, what kind of advice would you give to that person?
Close that door. Sorry. So for me, I think that one, in choosing being to be a single parent, like, acknowledge that there's nothing you can do to force the other parent to do anything. Like, right. You can go to court, they can give you orders, that person doesn't have to adhere to them, and there's so many loopholes. There came a point with my son that I just said, I could keep taking off work and sitting here for days, or I can just function and just live life, trying to get the pennies that they were going to give me. Like, I just want my son to be taken care of, and I can do that better by working myself than worrying about what anyone else is going to do. So when you make the decision, you know, also something I say in my stream all the time, it takes two people to make a baby, but it takes one person to make a conscious decision to use protection. Yeah. And hold to that, and not allow yourself to kind of be swayed into anything. If you're not ready to be a parent, abstaining is awesome, right? That is the 100% foolproof way to not make babies. So if you're not ready to make a child with someone, if you're not sure about having a child with the person you're with, don't make children. Because if you're faced with the choice of being a single parent, or faced with the choice of having to be in a co-parenting situation, that's for life. And you have no control over what the other person does or says, or who they take your child around, you know. Right. So I love my children, would not trade that for the world. And that was my journey that was intended for me. It's not going to be everybody's journey. Everyone's not going to find that point where they can just forgive and move on. Some situations get really, really ugly. So when you enter into parenthood, first thing first is love.
Right.
And if the situation is already toxic and not filled with love, think twice.
I love that. Last question. For those who may hear your story and say, well, your ex really doesn't deserve your forgiveness, what would be your response to that?
Then I don't deserve his, or God's forgiveness for that matter. I mean, he wasn't expecting to become a father.
Right.
Granted, we all know where babies come from, but in his mind, like, it's not going to happen to me. And then it happened. So, you know, I chose to have my child without him. And we know how this works. So he had no control over my decision to have my child. So, you know, his forgiveness for putting him in the position to where he, you know, his friends have all confronted him about not being there for my child. He's, you know, had to deal with that for the last 11, almost 12 years.
Yeah.
So, you know, there was embarrassment on his part, hurt on his part, but also, like, I want to be forgiven. I'm not perfect. I've done things to people. I've said things to people. You know, I want my kids to forgive me.
Right. And you know, what I've always told people is, if you're not willing to forgive people for their worst mistakes, don't ever be expected for you to be forgiven for yours. Exactly. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be judged for the worst mistakes that I make, because we all do things that we're not proud of. Some are worse than others, but you know, like I said, I think you said that beautifully. We do have to wrap things up here, but before we let you go, for those who may have not been around when you introduced yourself beginning, could you please just reintroduce yourself? Let us know who you are, when we could find you live, and what you do here on the app.
Okay, so I'm a Fever Diva. You can probably catch me mornings and evenings, you know, never really a set time, just when, unless it's a featured show. I do Worship Wednesdays every Wednesday morning, starting at 8 a.m. We do Mad Lib Mondays as well. And, you know, it's the old school Mad Lib. And you
Love
just,
that.
it's a lot of fun. You get to kind of hear what people's minds are. It's really hilarious. But Sundays is my featured show, Fine Arts with Fiva, and we talk about all things art. And this Sunday, we'll be talking about art inspired by September 11.
And I hope that one day I can be on that show because I'm a big art, especially when it comes to the arts, music.
Perfect.
Like,
You want to be on? You can come Sunday if you want.
um, and the 9/11 one that might be a little bit too emotional for me.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm a big fan of the. I love going to museums, art galleries, the symphony. Oh, I love the symphony. I could
Me
go
too.
every week.
Me
I
too.
love it. But y'all, please make sure y'all favorite Fever Diva. Thank you so much. First of all, you did an amazing. That was an amazing, amazing testimony. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing your story here tonight. I learned a lot from it, and I'm really inspired by the way you handled this situation, and just basically about your whole kind of attitude. I think everyone could probably take some notes from you and your story. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Anyway,
you, guys.
and now that it's over, I can say y'all favorite Five a Diva. That's
It's fine. Only you can call me that though. It's Fever Diva.
okay. Okay. No,
Bye.
y'all favorite Viva Diva. She's awesome, and like even after hearing her tonight, she's even more awesome than I knew. I guarantee you, I'm going to be spending more time in her streams, and you should definitely as well. Um, wow, what an amazing story, guys! This is forgiveness culture. Every week we have guests on the show who talk about the healing powers of forgiveness. Big thank you to a good listener for hitting my 40.5, Fiva Diva for being my number one for the stream. Tawny, thank you. Marty, thank you. Frozen, Idol, Auntie, Ben, AC, Trevor, all the way down. Thank you all for who participated. I appreciate each and every one of your gifts, each and every one of your comments. Am I a narcissist? I surely hope not, Miss MP. I surely hope not. If you guys are out there and you're thinking, well, I have a story of a time that I forgave someone that I think could benefit this app, please reach out to me on Instagram. By the way, guys, even if you don't, please follow me on Instagram. All you got to do is click on my bio here and follow me on Instagram, guys. I'm just like less than, I think, 20 follows away from 1,500, which enables me to actually finally get paid promotions on Instagram. Once you hit 1,500, you start being able to get certain like benefits. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram, please do so. Thank you, Pikachu. Please follow me on Instagram. Like I said, I'm less than 20 away from the 1,500 spot. And I appreciate it. And if you have a story, please reach out to me. You can reach out to me on Snapchat as well, but please let me know who the hell you are if you reach out to me on Snapchat, because you people be sending me highs on Snapchat. I don't know who the hell you are. You say hi, and all I see on the name, it says Joe. Well, who the hell is Joe? And if at least on Instagram I can go and I can look and say, oh, there's some pictures of Joe. Okay, I see Joe's little screenshot from his name. That was you, good. I knew it, good listener. I like, who the hell is Joe? Why all he said is hi. And then I go to his story and it's a picture of a Coke machine. Who the hell does that help? Who the hell does that who the heck does that help? First of all, how's your Snapchat story gonna be a picture of a Coke machine? What am I supposed to do with that? What are you trying to convey? Okay, listen, anyways, this is not the point of the show. But y'all, tell me who you are if you reach out to me on Snapchat. That's the moral of the story. Also, was are we back? Are we back? Okay. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. Anyways, we've been here. But y'all, We got an amazing show next week. Who's it going to be? Who's our guest next week? Who's our guest next week? Huh. I wonder if our guest is here. I wonder if our guest could possibly be in the chat section right now. Lip reading is a good skill. Man, I don't know what happened. It's a good question. Y'all, the Mr. 515 Dar is going to be our guest next week. So y'all make sure to tune in for that. Dar has been on the app, I think, since 1995. So he's been around a long time. He's been a friend of mine for a long time, and he's going to share a story with you guys next week. So y'all make sure to tune in to be to Mr. 515 Dar's story next week, guys. Thank you all for being a guest on, or for being audience members today on forgiveness culture. Mr. 1995. No, Mr. 515. That's a good one. Guys, remember, we're going to end the stream the same way we always do. It costs nothing to be nice, and it's free to be kind. So treat other people with love and make the world a better place. If you can't make the world a better place, as Jilly Baby says, at least don't make it worse. Y'all have a wonderful night. God bless you guys. Happy Labor Day. Happy playlist. And y'all treat each other with love. Okay? It's not that hard. See ya.